Welcome to Mom's Work. I'm your host, Kristin Weinrich, mom of two, teacher, and someone who knows firsthand that running a home and raising kids often feels like a full-time job in itself, on top of everything else. Today, we're talking about something that many families eventually face, and that is selling a home and preparing for a move. For parents especially, that process can feel overwhelming between decluttering, organizing, packing, and trying to make your house look show ready while still living in it. Joining me today is Ayse Clay, a mom, wife, and realtor with 24 years of experience in helping families successfully sell their homes. Ayse specializes in guiding homeowners through the entire process from preparing and staging a home to organizing, packing, and creating a plan that helps families feel less stressed during a move. Her goal is not just to sell houses, but to help families transition smoothly from one chapter of life to the next. Ayse, I'm so glad you're here today. You make it a breeze, right? You just make moving a breeze. I'd love for you to introduce yourself to our listeners and tell us a little bit about your background and the work you do.
Oh, well, thank you for that hearty introduction. I mean, I don't think I could have done all that myself. So I really appreciate that warm
Sure.
welcome and thank you for having me.
Of course, glad you're
Yeah,
here.
yeah. As you mentioned, a local person, a local mom, a local wife, pet owner. I happen to live in Tredyffrin Township, but grew up just down 252 in the cute, charming borough of Media,
Oh,
where
yeah.
most of my family still lives in that area. Um, this year, I'm celebrating 25 years in the real
Oh, I
estate
missed it.
business.
25. Sorry.
I mean, I'm coming up on 25.
Okay, okay.
It's hard to believe, in my mind, I get stuck at a certain age. I don't know if you can relate. So
22,
to know
remember?
that,
22
what was that?
forever. I'm 22 forever, remember?
That's right. That's right. I'm like perpetually 33 or something.
There you go.
But in reality, I've been practicing real estate half my life.
Yeah. That's crazy. That's like I've taught at the school where I teach for half of my life. I'm like, half of
Yes.
my life has been spent in this building. Yeah. It's kind of wild when you realize that.
Wild. It's pretty mind-blowing,
Hmm.
actually.
Hmm.
Yeah. Um, yeah, I don't know what else to share,
But that's
Kristin.
that's you. Just you like to play tennis, don't you? Are you a tennis player?
I do love to play tennis. I play tennis locally and thank you for asking, at the Upper Main Line Y for several years. It's been a really fun, amazing tennis community and racket community with pickleball and lots of fun people, great movement, and I'm appreciative of everybody who gives me grace.
That's that sounds like a fun little hobby for you. Well, thank you for sharing all of that. And I have a couple more questions for you just so we can get to know you even a little bit more better. That's not right. A little bit better. Um, so speaking of your quarter century, that sounds crazy. Quarter century in real estate. What is the professional achievement that you are most proud of?
Oh gosh. That's a hard one to think about. And I think I'm not going to be so specific,
Okay.
if that's okay. Um, I'm going to think about it like this, in having practiced real estate for a quarter of a century, as you put it, you know, I think having having seen many different having experienced many different markets, meaning many different big life events that have happened in our time. So I
Hmm.
started literally a month or two after 9/11 in
Okay.
real estate. And so thinking about that time of life,
Hmm.
uh, and then transitioning into when the real estate bubble burst. So that was around 2009. And then transitioning into COVID, which was a first for many of us into that pandemic with very strict regulations
Hmm.
from the state. And then being able to consistently um, kind of manage that, um, kind of those huge life happenings and life events for not only myself, but everybody around me.
Right.
And kind of managing through that. I don't know if I want to use the word bounce back, but like working through that. And sometimes it's not pretty.
Hmm.
Um, but just kind of just focusing and keep knowing that all you can do is to move forward in those instances. Um, so I would say overall, just being able to keep going in really tough times.
And to have done it, like you're saying, to wrap that up, like 25 years through all the craziness that has happened, and you weren't like, well, this has been fun. I'm out of here. You just kind of keep going and going with the flow. And um
Well, some might call that crazy.
I'm just gonna keep doing this and see what happens. But hey, you stuck with it, and here you are, here to tell us about it. So crazy, impressive, whatever you want to call it, that's fine. And after 24, 25 years in the business, what part of your work is it that you enjoy the most?
Oh gosh. So I think when I first started, again, being a lot younger, most of the clients that I had the pleasure of working with were more of my peers. And
Okay.
what I mean by that, they were mostly first time home buyers like I was. And I looked at that time period and felt, well, there's this real estate stuff is so positive, from that standpoint. This is someone's first home. There's lots to celebrate,
Mm-hmm.
lots of excitement, and just what an accomplishment for my peers, for myself. So a lot of excitement around that.
Yeah.
And then as my career evolved, you do realize that real estate, home buying, home selling, renting, like there's a lot of things that aren't so exciting, that aren't so positive, that that can be really sad.
Mm.
And um, and so I think that a lot of what I enjoy is really getting to connect with people. I feel like my strong suit is one-on-one with people or
Mm-hmm.
one-on-two. I don't do great with big groups, but being able to be one-on-one with somebody, whether it's on the phone or in person, and really being able to listen to them and allowing, I guess, to give space, allowing them to feel like they can be vulnerable and transparent with me.
Interesting.
They get to share their fears and their hopes or their wishes, what scares them about what we're about maybe to do,
Hmm.
or in general, maybe real estate aside, and or something that's really going to bring them joy once they move away from this or towards something.
Hmm.
And so I've learned that it's not always a beautiful moment, but just allowing people to be their own true selves with me, without judgment. Okay, because I've had people recently. Um, I wanted to apologize for being so negative at our last meeting, and I was like, "Oh my gosh, I didn't take that at all.
Yeah.
I took it as like you were really telling me, like off the top of your head, like what was happening in kind of live time,
Hmm.
basically." I am so appreciative that people can feel like put their guard down, feel relaxed in my presence, and really like say it how it is, even though sometimes I'm like, oh, I
Whoa.
don't know how to take that, but I'm just
Yeah.
taking. So really thankful that people will open up and obviously
Yeah.
keep it confidential. So I would say that's like the part that I think I enjoy the most. I don't
Hmm.
know how to wrap that up in one
Hmm.
little bow.
Yeah.
Um, but it's really like being with people and hearing what's making them tick and do something. So like a little psychology around
Yeah,
that,
and
if
being
that
like
makes
that
sense.
connection. It's interesting because as you were talking, I thought, gosh, like, people always joke and say like your hairdresser's like your therapist, and you think, oh, yeah, hairdressers hear it all, don't they? Because people just sit down and start to talk. And like you said in the beginning when you were in your 20s, probably everybody you were selling to was young and exciting, but moving comes with death and moving comes with divorce and moving comes with kids growing older and moving out. And sometimes there's happiness and sometimes there's sadness. And you're kind of just on the scene for that short amount of time, but you probably make a big impact in those people's lives. And, gosh, we had the best realtor and she was so thoughtful and understanding. And it's not a position that you think that your realtor has to be in, but you do. You kind of have to be a little bit of everything for those people.
Yeah, and getting into the business like not strategically. I wish I could say, oh yes, it was a strategic move to, move into
Yeah,
my career,
right.
but it, getting into it, it's not something I ever really thought about. And somebody
Okay.
might be, well, duh, Aisha, it's a people business. But I was so young
Right. You're
then.
just selling
I made
houses.
yeah, I made no connection. And a lot of people think, oh, it's about the house. Like, oh, I love houses so much. So of course I'm going to be in real estate, but you have to love the
The
people,
people too.
that relationship. And it's really all about the person.
Hmm. Wow, that
Structure
was deep
aside.
for the first 10 minutes. That was deep. I
I,
like that. That was
we're
a
diving
thought. That
in.
wow. I mean, but really that's probably an aspect of the job that people never thought of before. So thank you for sharing that side of it for us. How did you, if you want to tell us, how did you end up in real estate?
Yeah, it was just happenstance, really. It was after college, and I was kind of, in that zone of meandering, not really
Hmm.
sure where things will fall.
Yeah.
And uh, you know, a friend was, oh, so and so is looking for an assistant. Maybe you could make a good fit. And I was always kind of working lots of jobs when I was younger,
Yeah.
always keeping busy type of person. And I was like,
That
talk to
sounds
her,
like
couldn't
fun.
hurt. Yeah, yeah, exactly. Sounds interesting. And it was literally just after 9/11, and
Okay.
her as full-time assistant was leaving for I don't remember why. And then enter Aisha. And literally I was no glamour to this business sometimes, truly.
Yeah.
And literally I was even though some people can make it look glamorous.
You're telling us it's not.
Yeah, like I was taking signs, putting them in the yard, meeting
Oh,
township inspectors, putting lock boxes on the door,
yeah.
printing marketing material for this agent's listings, and keeping her organized on timetables. So it was more behind the scenes
You were like
work.
the details
Uh,
person.
yeah, I tried to be really her right hand gal, so to speak. And then through that, a year later, I got my real estate license. I was still like working other jobs, working for her.
Yeah.
And then she slowly took me under her wing. Basically, I feel like I grew up in real estate, so to
Right.
speak. Not in a real estate family, but grew up in the business. I
Right.
had like lots of moms at the office, truly. And
Right. The 20-year-olds always do, don't they? The 22-year-olds.
yeah, it was so special. It was so special, truly.
And it's
And
funny, and you've probably felt this too. I'm sorry to interrupt you. I feel like I've been at the same job in the same school for 23 years, and I feel like I was the child and now I'm the mom because I've been there like I was mommed and now I'm the mom to the young teachers. So that's kind of fun. And also you're like,
you
oh,
can you can
oh, now I'm
completely
old.
think,
Okay.
well, you can relate with the longevity of your career, and it's
Hmm.
very similar.
Hmm.
Yes, I felt like I was the child when I first started, and everybody's kind of telling me, "Oh, you might want to do this," and I had all these moms like looking after me
Yeah.
in that office that I was in, which I loved. Like I looked up to so many people in the office. It was
Hmm.
lovely. And then now I feel like I'm one of the older
We'll say
um
veteran. We're the veterans.
yeah, veteran in
Veterans.
the office, and it's such a different like mind shift.
Yeah.
Um, yeah. So then a year later, I got my license. I still worked as her full-time assistant, and then little by little, she would, if there was a client of hers where their child would come to her and say, "Hey, I'm looking to buy my first home," that's then enter Aisha.
Okay.
Oh, you're gonna really work. You're gonna work with Aisha. She's gonna be great. She's gonna really relate to you.
Yeah.
And it was really cool seeing people my age little by little, obviously,
Yeah.
help them and go buy something and acquire something. And then shortly after, I was able to acquire, a property at a pretty young age. So
Yeah.
it's really special.
It's kind of full circly. And similarly, when you were talking about that and, growing up, and I was thinking to myself, again, I was 22 when I started working at the school. And, I looked at the parents as like, wow, they have kids and they're at this, what do I know? What am I telling them? And now we're back around. I'm older than several of the parents, many of the parents, or the same age as the parents. And they sometimes look at me like, well, you have kids, you've been a teacher, you know. And I'm like, oh gosh, I still don't feel like I know anything. But to be on the other end of that is an interesting, and I don't think a lot of people in this day and age, whether it's real estate or education or, those people tend to have more longevity, where I think a lot of other people hop from job to job just because of the way of the world. But, you and I have kind of been in the same place at the same time. And, we've been on one end of the spectrum where we're the babies, and now we're like, oh, well, you can ask Kristin. She's been here for a long time. I'm like, oh, okay. But, with that experience, you're like, okay, I do, I kind of know what I'm doing now. And people come to me for advice, and I'm sure they come to you for advice. And it's kind of nice to be on the other side of that.
It can be. I think, like your business, like mine, it's also ever evolving.
Hmm.
And so, to continually be able to adapt to new information that's coming, new technology that's coming, I feel that, not that it's becoming too challenging, but
Hmm. A
I've got
lot.
to be on my toes.
Hmm.
I think while I have a ton of knowledge and experience, I still feel that, with the entering technology, I
Hmm.
still need to be on my toes and understand that, because there's others that really, really dive deep in that. They just don't have
Yes.
enough um, history in the business. So I'm constantly trying to ensure that I'm staying on top of the technology, the new rules, all of
Yeah.
that.
All the
Um,
things.
I'm sure
Yes.
you can relate.
I feel that deeply. Yes. All right. I have one more question for you. How would you describe yourself in 3 words?
Oh, I love this. Interestingly enough, and tying into, speaking of technology, about a month ago, I chat GPT'd, how would you describe Ayse Clay in
Oh,
3 words?
so funny.
It was so interesting because I have been asking it a lot of
Hmm.
questions, a lot of random questions as they come to mind. And
And
maybe
it's
you
kind of
can.
weird how it gets to know you, isn't it?
Yes.
Weird, fascinating, scary. Yeah.
Totally. And I really loved the response so much when I asked it.
So what did the chat tell us about you?
Chat said very succinctly, it described me as being very thoughtful,
Okay.
which I loved, because maybe I'm asking lots of questions. It also described me as practical, which I would say to a T. Yes, yes,
Love that.
yes. This one was my favorite. It called me human centered. And
Oh,
and that, I think that word, like thoughtful, I've heard of, great. Okay. But human centered, I said, wow, that's
yeah.
powerful
That's
to
really
me.
good.
I thought so too. It was such a striking word. And then if you tie it back to what I mentioned early on about like going deep with people,
Hmm.
I was like, wow, that really ties together, because I have to think a lot of questions I'm asking are about people related.
Right.
And um and this career of mine is very relational. So that human centered piece, like, I'm not a robot, I'm not AI,
Right.
I'm human, meaning I make mistakes, but I am also very thoughtful and I do try. So I really love the way that
The
that
chat
summed up.
nailed it. Now we're all going to go type in, how would you describe us? Well, I did an episode with Amber Berry back in January that's all about AI. For the listeners who heard that, it's a great episode if you haven't listened yet. And, she was saying how it does kind of learn you, and it takes all of the information and the questions that you put in, and it sort of starts to write in the way that you write. And, it kind of quote unquote thinks the way that you think, and it's pretty wild. So when I get off this call, I'm going to go ask the chat, as I call it, how it would describe me.
Will
So
you
that's
text me? Will
I
you
will.
text
I'll tell you. Here are my
me?
3 words. Maybe we'll do that on like a social post next week. We'll say, "What did the chat say about you?" That would be fun. All right.
Yeah.
Okay. So I would agree. The chat GPT came up with 3 very kind words for a very kind person. So let's talk about our win and our challenge of the week. Would you like to share a win or a challenge first? And then I'll share
Win
one.
or challenge? Um, well, I was very congested this week, and um, and my partner's family member passed away, all
Oh,
while all while we were building up to we do two client appreciation events per year, and we were building up to that this weekend. So, with that said, I had to like push through and
be
get
the
all the
face of
details.
the event.
Yeah, worked through, and I saw some very fun and exciting faces, which I loved. And so we were able to still have a very successful event. I thought we took everyone to the movies,
So
as you know.
fun.
It's so fun. And then I like to tie something like that's a give because it's so fun to be able to do that. And it's something like really special. We have a theater to ourselves.
Yeah.
And it's just like, okay, a fun day. Thank you, everybody, type of thing. And then to also tie like a charity piece to it. So I had any like um person who came invitee, like if they could bring socks or a favorite local charity.
What's that
Um,
called? I'll put it in the show notes too. What's the charity called?
yeah, yeah. It's called Joy of Socks,
Okay.
and they feel um, most that, if someone's feet are cold or wet, that they're not a happy person. So
Hmm.
how do you keep them warm, comfortable? It's going to be through some warm socks. And
Love that.
so they collect socks for the homeless, men's, women's, children, and I haven't circled back with all the invitees yet. But my son and I counted all the socks that were brought to the event, and there were 394 pairs of socks brought. I
Wow.
thought that was awesome.
Wow.
Maybe we will get to help bring those to their facility in Phoenixville and
Okay.
help pack them up. And that charity we got connected to through a little school called Beaumont Elementary where my son went. And so we really like that charity
I
very
had
much.
never
So
actually heard of that charity before. I don't know why, since it's so local, but you're right. I mean, if your feet are cold or wet, like there's nothing more miserable than that. So what a nice idea that you can bring comfort to people, who are struggling with just warm socks. It's such a nice, cozy idea. I love that. Love that you did that. That's a
thank you. How about you? How about a winner challenge
Oh,
of the
I
week?
feel like all I do on this podcast is talk about the weather. Like I've been cold all winter and blah, blah, blah. But this weekend we had a 3-day weekend. That was a win because it was the end of Ramadan. So our school and my children's school was off on Friday. So we kind of got like a bonus. And that was just kind of fun, like a nice little break. And the weather was pretty nice. And it was free Dairy Queen and free Ritas this weekend because of spring. And then we had yesterday was real warm and we had family over and my kids were outside playing and of course, they had to put shorts on and it felt very like, okay, spring is here. And then today it was rainy and cold. But we had those 3 days that were really just, when it like kind of just like lifts your heart and the sun is shining and you're like, we made it through. And, the winter, the warm weather will come again. And truly, like, it made me so happy that it was light until 7:30 and we were outside and we were sitting on the deck and we ate lunch outside. And I was like, oh, I've been waiting for this for like 5 months. So that was truly my win. And I know the rest of the week is going to be in the 40s and 50s, but we had those like 72 hours. So I can't complain. Can't complain.
We're slowly getting to the warmer weather, but I am
Getting there.
convinced as I age that we need vitamin D. So,
Yes. Yes. It just
yeah.
feel and I went for a walk last night and it was like warm. Yeah, I was like, oh, it's coming. And yeah, we need the sun and we need the warm and the birds singing and all those good things. So that was my win. What about your challenge? What was your challenge this week, other than the congestion?
Well, I feel like that was my win and my challenge all bundled into one.
Oh, I like that. Oh, you did it all at once. All right, then I'll give you my challenge, which also could be bundled into one. Because again, here I go with the weather again. I feel that it's hard this time of year, and you probably agree, to dress yourself and dress your children because you wake up in the morning and it's 30 degrees. And by 4 o'clock, and they're like, oh, you need your winter coat and you need long pants. And like, because the bus stop, it's going to be 33 degrees. That's literally, 1 degree away from freezing. I have to tell my son every day, and it's cold. And then like they get off the bus and it's 68 degrees and sunny. And like, I'm so hot. And like in the morning, I'm like, I don't know. Am I wearing short pants? Am I wearing long pants? Am I wearing a heavy sweater? Am I wearing a light sweat? That is just like, spring in Pennsylvania. We have fake spring and then we have real spring and then fake spring comes back and then the winter returns. And you're like, I just don't know. And then like all of my spring clothes and my summer clothes and my winter clothes are like all over my room and you're just like like we need to make a decision here, but I feel like we have like 2 months of like just kidding, it's only going to be 50 today, but tomorrow it'll be 83, don't worry. So, and last week we had a tornado warning. It's like we had everything all at once, so I feel like I don't know what to wear, and that is my challenge right now.
You just have to be really prepared, like, asking Alexa or what have you, like,
Right.
what's the temperature going up to today? And then, you really have to stay on top of the weather
You
right
do.
now. You're
And
so right.
as a woman who is almost 45 years old, I find great pleasure in the Weather Channel app. I check it many times a day. So I'm always like, oh, but it's going to be cold tonight. We need to turn the heat on. My husband's like, how do you know? I'm like, well, I checked the app and it's going to be like 33 tonight, but tomorrow it's going to be 64. And he's like, you love that app. I'm like, I do. I like to know what the weather's going to be. So I'm not caught off guard. So,
It's amazing the things as we mature,
yes,
what brings
mature.
us, what new things bring us joy.
Yes, right. And that weather app, man. And I haven't checked yet for tomorrow, but I think it's going to be chilly again. So take out your coat.
Yeah.
Anyway, all right. So let's really get into it. How a person prepares. I know that they say that selling a home is one of what the most stressful things you can do, along with like getting a new job, getting married, or having a baby. So moving is one of those. But again, like we said in the beginning, you make it super easy. So you're going to just share all of your wisdom and it's going to be a breeze, a walk in the park for people listening. So all right, so selling a home can feel overwhelming to anyone, but I'm thinking especially of parents with children who feel like they're always living in, speaking of tornadoes, like I feel like my house is a tornado all the time, and the thought of having to like clean it and organize it and declutter to sell, which we're not planning on doing, thank goodness. But let's talk about that and how you can help families and parents make the process sort of more manageable overall, and then we'll get into more nitty-gritty.
Yeah, that was a lot to unpack what you just
Yeah.
said.
All the
Um,
things, the whole
and
process.
yes, and I wish I could like wave this magic wand and be like, this shall be easy,
Yep.
you know. Um, but around that, I think first off, as somebody who is moving, whether you're a family, a solo, a couple,
Hmm.
um, I think giving yourself grace is a huge piece of it, because it can be messy, and I don't mean physically messy, mentally messy.
Hmm.
There's a lot of small small things, if not done, it can escalate
Hmm.
and things can go awry. So I would probably want to describe it more as like maybe coming up with a plan, because everyone's
I like that.
lifestyle and life plan is going to vary. Where they're at with things will vary. And so give yourself grace along the way. There's no like one size fits all with how one goes about it.
Hmm.
Um, and I'm kind of smiling because I remember this one story of my friend's parents. They lived in their home, and I remember going to this home, which was a little surreal then, putting on my realtor goggles and going over there. And for 40 years, they raised 5 kids in the house,
Wow.
and we connected. Ayse, can you help us sell? And then we're going to go purchase a new home. So it was really heartwarming that they reached out to me, and but 40 years
Mm.
of things. And so she is leaving some days, putting out stuff, right? Putting out things at the curb.
Okay.
Here he comes home
Oh no.
and sees said things at the curb and picks them up and takes them back in.
Mm.
So needless to say, that that kind of plan or home plan
Yeah.
prepping took that couple about a year to just get prepped. And so everybody's going to be different. I
Okay.
really like to like try to meet people where they're at. And then basically, so long story, I'm trying to rein it in here. But like first steps, I would say like contact a realtor. Like
Okay.
it's okay if you feel prideful and you're like, I know what I'm doing. I'm going to get it done. Some people are too prideful and they don't want you in their home when it might be like, like we normally live, right,
Yes.
on a daily basis, things out and
Yep.
about, totally fine. So typically I say, like, call a realtor, whether it be me, whether it's, somebody you trust, call them first, like, make that contact and just say, like, hey, please, no pressure on me. I'm not ready, but I'm starting to think about this so that you can have like a deep conversation of what might this look like? What might this look like from a moving standpoint? Because you kind of have to take it back
Right.
to that time to really understand in order to make and prepare and make a plan,
And I
right?
guess it depends too on if you're a person, like people our parents' age who are looking to downsize and don't necessarily have a time limit and they can take a year to declutter. Whereas if, your husband or you get transferred and you're like, we got to be out of here in 2 months, that's going to change everything. So I guess that
Absolutely.
also
Absolutely. But
is
in both senses, to your point, having that plan is really important, or at least like some couple like high level steps.
hmm
And often it's going to be paring down. Like that for, I'll say, Americans, right,
hmm
is tends to be, I would say 9 times out of 10 is going to be the first thing that one just starts doing, whether you know where you're going, whether you have no idea where you're going, just start paring down.
Right.
And some people will use the word decluttering, and for some it is truly decluttering, and for some it's truly paring down.
Yeah.
So that just means packing away, like open the closets, and typically we sort things in like three piles. I'm not doing the sorting with people, so
Right.
when you say I make it easy, I'm not right next to you sorting. um,
That's
but
not part of the job description.
well, I mean,
There are
I can't say
companies for
I've
that.
not done it before, right?
Yeah.
So, but you have to think like in three buckets almost.
Yeah.
Your throwaway, your giveaway, and your pack away. And when you pack away, you're really just thanking your future self.
Uh-huh.
Thank yourself. Do you know what I mean? Because you're
Yeah.
going to be packing anyhow.
Yeah.
Um, but also, like, maybe even a step before that is also talking to the person to understand what their motivation is for selling. Does it
Okay.
make sense to do that now or even in the near future?
Okay.
So I'm taking that back a couple of steps. So having a plan, talking about what that might look like, laying out that plan, and maybe even putting a timeline to it,
Mm,
because some people are really great at coming up with a timeline on their own,
right.
and some people really need to look to me to say, hey, you pick a date. So we'll pick a date. At least it gives them something to work
Oh,
towards.
that like you say, you'll come to the house on this date, so they kind of feel like they
Yeah,
have to
yeah,
be
yeah.
ready.
Like
Okay,
up
that
to
makes
that,
sense.
a check-in and to see where your progress is. They need that
Yeah.
a little bit of motivation.
You kind of have to be the tough love. I'm showing up in 8 weeks at your house, ready or not. I like that.
Yeah. See what it looks like. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I know that people feel stressed even just thinking about like the thought of moving. But what would be the first steps that, and I think this is sort of answered by the last question, the first steps that a homeowner should take would just be make a plan and
Yeah.
put it
Make
in
a
your timeline.
plan. Exactly. Make a plan, pare things down. And often you'd probably be surprised at how many people will rent a pod or a storage unit. You'd
Mm,
be very surprised how many people end up doing that. For families, it often makes sense to do that.
okay.
Uh,
Because it gets it
so
out of your house, right? And then you can store them, right? If it's like a little storage pod, it just stays in your driveway. But yeah.
exactly, then it gets picked up at a later date.
Yeah,
gets stored off premises and then can get delivered to
that's
the
nice.
new place.
Yeah.
Yeah, and some people are like, "Oh, I got to get everything out of here." And I'm like, "No, no, no. Like if you're still living there, right? Because it's situational. If you're still living there, leave the necessities. I
Hmm.
think a home with furnishings is going to show better. It's going to show like the dimension of the space,
Right.
but it's really just all the ancillary things, like all the little knick-knacky things,
Hmm.
collections. We don't need
Toys.
all
The toys.
toys. Yeah,
Yeah.
really pare those down, pack away. And like I said before, you're thanking your future self because it's going to be a little bit easier
Right.
taking small bites out of things by doing it that way.
Now, this is
And
something I just thought about. I didn't write it on our outline, but I have heard before that you should take away anything that is quote unquote personal. So leave pictures and like artwork up, but take down pictures of your family and, something that is like specific to you to make the house feel more not generic, but so that a person could picture themselves living there without feeling like, oh, but there's the family looking at me from the fireplace. What do you think about that? Like to make it feel lived in and decorated, but take away those personal photographs and stuff.
when I was younger, I was so much more stringent on that. Um, but that was before I was a mom. So
Yeah, you're
here,
like,
that's the
"Eh."
and now that I'm in my home as a family, it's like, well, we've got some personal things. So I would
Right.
say pare those down,
Okay.
right? Again, if you end up leaving some family photos up, that's fine too. Or put something neutral in that photo frame anyway. But you can certainly pare down family photos. Um, some people might not agree with this, but I would say anything religious, political,
Mm.
I would probably pull off the walls because the goal is to typically to make it like a more mass appeal,
Okay.
right?
So kind of
You said,
like I was saying, like generic, quote unquote, a generic
yeah,
house.
generic, warm but generic.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Anything valuable, of course,
Right.
whether that be a piece of, fine art or a sensitive piece of paperwork, right?
Okay. Right. Pack away the
Throw that away.
diamonds. Pack away your diamonds.
Pack away the diamonds
Pack,
and
put them
pearls.
on your body and leave the house.
That's right. And usually, like anything, smaller than like a football, just put away. Just
Interesting.
put away. And I really think less is more. That saying less is more, that goes a long way.
Okay. And so, all right. So less is more. And we've talked about decluttering and making a plan and just kind of going through. And I love your three bucket idea of keep, give away, and what was the other one?
Pack away.
Throw away. And a lot of people get dumpsters too, don't they? And they just go at it. So once people have done that, let's say, and they're kind of ready and they're starting to show their home. And let's say they have all these little kids and in 20 minutes or 30 minutes or an hour or two, they're like, "Oh, we have people who want to come see your house tonight." And you look around and your house is lived in, as you said. What are some practical tips for kind of keeping your house show ready while also being realistic and saying, I live here with my three kids or my two kids or my dog or, whatever it is.
Yeah, by that point, you will have, pared down a lot already. So it should be a bit more easy to, if a showing came in, to kind of pack up. But like a handy tip would be grabbing like a plastic laundry basket, if you
Okay.
can picture, or a plastic tote or
Yeah.
something,
Yeah.
those large ones with the handles kind of out to here, and kind of doing a quick sweep of just placing, if you have your pet leash, your pet bowl, the toy that your child wants to bring, anything like that, you can do a clean sweep of
Great
the
idea.
house and just grab it, pop it in the car real quick. And, I have to get everybody on board with that,
Right.
obviously.
Right.
Um, but you are doing some activities on a day-to-day basis that maybe you're not typically doing. You're making the beds every day. You're
Mm-hmm.
emptying the trash every day or taking those bins and putting them under the cabinets. You're clearing your sink out every day. You are doing some things that you don't typically do on a
Just
day-to-day basis.
proactively. Okay. That makes
Exactly,
sense.
because the way you the way you show a home is very different from the way you live in a home. They're
Right.
very two different things. And um, there's a very small percentage of people who actually live in a home that's show ready. It's such a small percentage, but they're
Mm-hmm.
out there. I've seen it.
I'm sure.
Kudos to people, but it's
Not
not
my
the
house.
that's not the average. It's
Yeah.
not the average family or
Right.
person. So, and and some people like irk when I use this term like short term pain, long term game, but it
Okay.
it
Oh,
is short
yeah.
term pain, long term game,
Yeah.
and it is true to form. So there's other pieces to the situation of home selling that will hopefully like pricing and positioning,
Hmm.
right, and staging what we're talking about right now that will try to pare this down into a shorter time frame. I couldn't imagine showing my home for 6 months on end. That
Right.
sounds tiring
That'd be
and
awful.
unnecessary.
Yeah.
Um,
Oh, and houses are selling pretty quick right now across the country. I mean, I know in this area it is. What is, do you know the trends across the country? Like it feels like because the housing market got so, kind of off kilter for a while there that hopefully people will only have to have their house show ready for so many weeks or a month or something rather than long, long, long.
yeah, and I know we're on this topic. I would totally agree with our average days on market in, I'll say, Chester County have been somewhere floating around 20 days on market, which is
Oh,
relatively low. And
yeah.
please note that obviously some homes right now are still getting multiple offers,
Hmm.
and some homes are sitting for weeks on end. It's kind
Okay.
of a little bit of a challenge to price right now, but
Yeah.
we're in like in this mainline market, I'd say a little bit of a bubble. Um, and you have to kind of push out the national news because
Okay.
that's not what we're experiencing here in the suburbs of Philadelphia.
Right.
We're experiencing very low inventory, and that's not nationwide. We're
Okay.
experiencing still very low inventory because there are a good amount of people who are sitting on 3% interest rates and they don't want to move off of that,
Mm-hmm.
understandably so. And so inventory is just trickling on the market, and therefore the days on market are shortened, which is wonderful being a home seller. In
Right.
that same market, you might also have to be a home buyer. So that
Right.
might be a little more challenging. However, I will say it doesn't mean that then, with that said, that just because homes have somewhat of a condensed time frame on market, that it's wise to just be like, my home will sell, no problem. I'll
Right.
just leave it as it is.
Yeah.
Um,
Just
for multiple reasons, you don't want to do that. And if you are a type of seller that I often work with that want to really maximize, right, that output,
yeah.
maximize what you're netting for the sale of the home, because most of the sellers are then taking those net proceeds and then putting that to a home purchase,
Okay.
eh, because we're also at a time where values are still climbing.
Hmm.
If you want to maximize the home sale, not just from a less days on market standpoint, but also in order to maximize the dollar, I think staging is still going to be, and preparing still such an important piece to it
Kind of put your
all.
best foot forward. And I want to talk a little bit more about staging in just a minute, but before I forget, I want to tell you a funny story. My husband and I were looking, we've lived in our house for almost 10 years, and I think we looked at, oh my gosh, like 40, 50 houses, and we lost two houses. Well, we backed out of two houses because there were termites in one and carpenter ants in the other, and the inspector was like, "You're going to wake up in the basement someday." We're like, "Okay, we're going to go." But
Oh my gosh.
you were talking about how there's a day he's like you live upstairs right now, but someday your bedroom's just gonna get like, eaten right into the basement, the termites. We were like, okay, so this is not the house for us. But we went in, you were saying there's a difference between staging a house and living in a house. And we were in a house and it was very lived in. It was not staged. It did not feel as though the parent people had pared it down, but it was a nice house, whatever. And my husband went into a room and like he yelped a little and I heard like another noise and I came upstairs and I was like, "What's wrong?" And he's like, "There's a woman who doesn't speak English in the bed." It was like an old woman who had been asleep. I guess like the daughter or son or whoever was selling the house like neglected to mention that we were coming, or so my husband like walked in the room and woke her up and like she screamed and he screamed and I was like, "Just get out, get out, get out, get out, get out." We didn't even like, it was so weird. So good
Very
point.
awkward.
always put your best foot forward and maybe take the old lady speaking Italian out of the house. And I was like, that could have been like a really nice house. We might have wanted to buy it. He's like, doesn't matter. He was like, I was done after I woke her up. And I was like, yeah,
Yeah, that
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 was
vibe was weird.
that
That
was a weird
vibe.
one. That was a weird one. It was time to go. So maybe it was the universe telling us something. But yeah, always good to take the old ladies out of the house before the showings. That's a lesson learned.
Preferably.
And can you tell us a little bit more about actually staging? Like, what should a room look like that is staged, and explain kind of what it means and why that really matters?
Yeah, and thank you for kind of jumping back to that word for a second of
Sure.
staging because I feel like it has lots of components to
Hmm.
it.
Hmm.
And we in our industry, I know I'm guilty of it, like really sling that term around and don't always really break it down for a homeowner or a
Okay.
consumer. So and so when we're talking about staging, right, it's planning, it's preparing, it's paring down, it's maintenance.
So
It
it's the
can
whole
also,
thing. It's not just where the chair is in the room.
yeah, and
Interesting.
then leading
Okay.
to that, it can be where the chair is in the room. So like it's
It's the whole
in my
thing.
mind, it's a myriad of terms
Okay.
of you know, just getting that home prepared. That's what I feel like home staging is. But then
Okay.
there's the actual home staging
Right.
where you know, my girl Nancy, she is my actual home stager,
Okay.
right? Who I call on um when I need like an extra hand with certain things. So,
Okay.
for example, um, she is going to either go meet with a homeowner to maybe make a plan, like an action plan. Some people they're like, I know what to do. They've got this. And
Okay.
other people not so much. And so she'll help them make a plan, um, more of like a consultation appointment, make a plan of some action steps they can take.
Okay.
Um, they find it helpful because sometimes, not that they don't want to listen to me, but sometimes like a totally third party will help with the process.
Right.
And
It's like when your mom
it,
tells you to do something versus when like somebody else, and you're like, I already
yeah,
told you that. They're like, yeah, but so and so said, and it's a really good idea. As the mom, you're like, okay, just do it,
right.
whatever.
The teacher says to do it, and then
Right.
the kids do it, right?
Oh
Yeah.
yeah, I've heard that. It's funny, it doesn't work when you're the mom and the teacher. My children don't listen to anything but the children in my classroom are like, oh, Mrs. Weinrich said. I'm like, oh, if only I had that power everywhere in my life. But yes, exactly. You just need that other person.
Thank you for relating that. I think that's a perfect
Yep.
actually. The home stager will also help you take what you have furniture wise. Again, furnishings get, you know, all the little knickknacks away,
Yes.
packed away. She will take what you do have furniture wise
Okay.
and sometimes rearrange it, move it around the house, um, move it into an like move it in the room to create like an open, inviting, like it might not make sense for your daily
For
living,
living.
right?
Okay.
But it is going to, like, from a visual standpoint, it's going to create like a really welcoming space
Interesting.
to then to a point where if you want to move out or move things out of a room, she will come in and bring furniture and
Oh,
bring some really nice pieces, some art, and really create such a beautiful, light, welcoming space.
interesting.
Uh,
Okay.
so for some homes, you know, some of the homes that I've worked on and sold have been vacant, and vacant space actually shows smaller.
Okay. That
It
makes, I've
sounds,
heard that before. Right. Like
yeah,
when
it
you put
sounds
a couch in it, all of a sudden you're like, oh, this room's so big, and you wouldn't think that.
right. Yeah, it gives furniture actually gives space some scale
Okay.
because you could look at an empty room and have really no clue. Can I fit a queen size bed in here? I
Right.
can't really tell.
Right.
And so by bringing in furniture, most often in common spaces,
Okay.
like your living room, dining room, kitchen, family room, typically your primary bedroom, filling those spaces with very purposeful and sizable pieces.
Interesting.
Um,
So would she have
really,
like a design background, like an interior design kind of background?
she's got a design background and she can ensure that the furniture fits the space perfectly. Because often, like, we see these really like plush couches and they're
Yeah.
just like way too big for the space.
And she just
So
has the
she will
eye.
ensure like scale. And then all of her furniture is very current, like decor.
Mm.
And the cool thing is she can either take a space that has some of the rooms filled with a homeowner's
Okay.
furnishings and just fill in other spaces,
Interesting.
or a completely vacant home and make it feel so warm and inviting. So to give you some statistics, right,
Hmm.
around staging, specifically that, um, stats that I've read recently say that homes that are staged, so in my mind, that specifically and or prepared, like somebody's strategically thought about how they're going
Okay.
to present the home, have sold between 1 to 10%, and I've seen some numbers higher,
Right.
but 1 to 10% higher than average.
Wow.
And so, and here's the thing, to actually like stage the home, let's say from my third party stager, Nancy, it ranges from like $3,000 to $5,000, which I know every $1,000 is a lot, but
Right.
if you're taking a $500,000 home, because right now that's kind of the local average in some
Okay.
areas. I know not all around
Okay.
here, but maybe more nationally, 500,000, and you're adding at least 1% you've made back. You've probably sold the home quicker, got a quicker contract.
Right.
Say you got up on the higher end to 10%, that's $50,000,
Right.
and you've
Worth the
spent
3 to 5.
$5,000.
Yeah.
And you've probably also got multiple eyes on the home. Maybe you even got multiple offers, or you've shortened the days on the market. So you're not grabbing that laundry basket
Right.
and
Taking
gathering
your
things up.
family out every night. Yeah.
Exactly. So there, and I have found, again, like tying back to our initial conversation about psychological and um, with with this kind of business, is that I've learned that there's a good amount of people who are extremely visual. They can look at
Mm.
a home with nothing in it, and I'm going to do that there. This light fixture I'm going to change out. This is where the table's going. They're just
They
boom,
can
boom,
see
boom.
it.
They can envision, they can see it.
Yeah.
And then there's half of the population who is very visually challenged, and they cannot see the end result. They cannot see where
Interesting.
they're going to place their furniture, how to use this vacant room where you might say, well, duh, that's a dining room. They have very challenged. How am I
Can't
putting
see
this
it.
together? And so what's going to happen is those furnishings are really going to be able to give them an idea of how to use the space. Of course, you can use it however you want, but it's going
Right.
to
But
give
they
it
can
an option.
see it. Yeah.
They're going
Yeah.
to visually see it. And so when you then take that space and then apply professional photography to it, professional video to it, and then put it online for people to see, it's going to be very like pulling.
Impactful.
It's
Yeah.
just very impactful for people.
Right.
And versus like, what if, like, as a realtor, I look at homes online all day, every day. And I will still look at a photo and I'm like, what space am I looking at? I don't
Right.
even understand what room this is. It starts to just blend.
Hmm.
But if you're like furnishing it specifically, you're going to, oh, that's the dining room. Oh, that dining room leads right into the family room. Oh, that's great for when my
Right.
family comes over and we're all hanging out watching the football game.
And you can kind of see it because again, we have no plans to move ever because we are in that low interest and we're like, we're stuck forever. But that's fine. But I love real estate. So I'll just sometimes when I'm bored, like go on like a real estate website and just kind of look. And you're right. Like the pictures, if the pictures are good, you're like, you can see how the house flows from the pictures and where things connect and where the doorways are. And yeah, I mean, it really is like you said, psychological. And I feel like moving and house hunting and even putting your house up for sale is a very emotional thing. Like I remember my brother-in-law said to me when I was selling my condo that I bought as a single woman, I was moving out when I got married, and he said, I'm going to give you a price that I think you should list it for. You're going to feel that it's low because this is like your heart and soul, and you're going to feel like I'm insulting you. And I was like, no, 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 no. And he was like, but this is, really what it's worth. And he gave me a number, and I was like, oh, well, I was thinking, and I said like $15,000 higher. And he was like, because it's emotional. And I was like, okay, fine. And he was like, we can put it there. And it didn't sell for that. We brought it down to what he said and it sold right away. But you're like, but I did this and I fixed this and this is where I did this and this was my first house and look how pretty the kitchen is. And, you're looking at it from like, this was my home, and a realtor can look at it as like, it's a nice place, but like, kind of here's what it's worth, and you kind of have to, I guess, get over that as the seller as well, because you're seeing your life flash before you when you're selling it, and another person is like, yeah, but it's still only worth this much money, and you're like, okay, okay.
Yeah, there and keep in mind that typically when that buyer is coming in, they're also looking at other homes on the market and
Hmm.
they're comparing and contrasting your property to another. That
Right,
you as the homeowner, you're not seeing that piece of
right,
it like they
right.
are an
You think
outside.
yours is just, why wouldn't someone want to buy your house that you love so much? And you're like, you don't know what house they saw 20 minutes ago. And I guess you just have to stay humble about it, I guess. And what would you,
And the word that I'm going to come back to is like give yourself grace, give
yeah,
your property grace. Like grace, I think is a perfect word to keep in your mind.
right.
Two other pieces to jump on that about on the home staging topic is maintenance. I feel like that's a part of home staging.
Okay.
Something as easy as like vacuuming the intake vents that are on the ceiling or
Oh,
on the
and are all
wall.
dusty. Yeah.
And now dusty typically, like we don't see it. We're
Right.
it moving in the home all day long, but like, and then that's going to go with like a deep clean, basically.
Hmm.
Um, making sure like light bulbs are all like in everything because yeah, we could go without a light bulb and an overhead light, but
Right.
it's going to show brighter, lighter, better, bigger, make sure all the lights are on. So like that's like a no cost item, making sure all the lights on, making sure a small cost, making sure all the bulbs are working, every
Hmm.
little thing, opening curtains and things like that. A deep clean,
Mm.
that I usually say save to the end.
Okay, that makes
The
sense.
windows washed, deep clean, a huge piece. And the maintenance piece is also like sometimes I get a home inspector in or handyman in ahead of time to help with the
Oh,
homeowner.
interesting.
Yeah, the handyman can do. I love him. I use one that I know because he can do a bunch of little projects
Okay.
that like you find somebody to do this little thing, but he's going to be like maybe touching up your white trim. He's going to be
Mm.
caulking around the tub and doing the grout that
You could
like
do like a
you
little punch list of all the little things. Yeah, that's a
yeah,
great
punch
idea.
list. Yeah, which is really helpful. What was the other piece I was going to say?
I don't
Uh,
know.
maintenance and
Maintenance.
maybe deep clean, I think.
Deep clean is probably a good one because again, like you said, I walk into my house sometimes and we're having like people over and I'm like, oh, they must think we live in like filth. But I'm like, we don't, but you can like look past the dust under your couch, or but if somebody's coming in to try to buy it, like you want to really, really look like you are at the top of your game at all
We're
times.
on top of it because if you leave anything messy, it's like, well, if you
Yeah.
left this messy for me and you're
Yeah.
trying to sell the house, I can imagine how this house has been maintained over
Right.
that.
For all the years. Like this is how you're showing, this is how you're putting your best foot forward. This is what you're showing me. So yeah. Yeah.
Exactly, exactly. It is a lot like to your point, Kristen, very psychological. The other piece I was gonna just speak to real quick because I feel like I'm seeing it so much more now than
Yeah.
ever before is where the photos, like the property is actually vacant and the
Okay.
photos are being digitally staged, which
Oh,
I
yes.
love from a standpoint that great, you can like envision how that space is going to be laid out. The problem that I find is once you take clients there's nothing there. Again,
Hmm.
we're back to like how do we do this space? Well, if we have the photo, but it's like then there's
Standing in
nothing
it is a totally different thing.
absolutely. So in my mind, I mean, in a perfect world, and I know this can't work for everyone, but in a perfect world is the images that you're going to put online when somebody gets there, it's going to darn well look
Just
almost
like
just like
that.
that to the best of your
Mm-hmm.
ability, because then it's going to evoke those feelings for someone while they're standing in it with the lights on, everything's looking clean, crisp,
Yeah.
bright, the furnishings are there. Again, in a perfect world, that can't work for everybody.
Right.
uh, I feel like things have to translate.
Right, because you're right, because you want it to what you saw online to be what you see in person. I have a friend who moved last year and she was only selling her house because she was moving into her parents' house and she was texting me one day and she was like, the stager came, we're getting ready to take the pictures and she's like, I wish I lived in my stage house for the last 18 years. My staged house is beautiful. She's like, they've got things here that I've never even thought of and she's like, I would want to buy my house now. She's like, it never looked like this. But, I was like, well, then I guess the stager did their job. She's like, I guess they did. But yeah,
All right. I
yeah,
love that.
they did that, what they needed.
Proof in
All
the
right. So
pudding.
let's say, we were talking about how moving is emotional and even with the price and whatever, but let's talk about moving with kids and how we know that it's chaotic and cleaning up and taking your laundry basket full of stuff and running out of the house for the showings and stuff. But, I often think too, because we had talked about moving a lot and then interest rates and blah, blah, blah. And now we love where our kids go to school and we're like, we're just going to stay. But I remember saying to my husband, like, but I don't know if I want to leave the house where like we brought our babies home. You know what I mean? And or where they took their first steps or like the first house that they ever knew, or you can picture them doing certain things in the backyard. What advice would you give parents to kind of make when kids have to leave, say, a house that they've only ever known or that they've lived in for a long time? What advice would you give parents to make that transition smoother? And I guess it would be somewhat dependent upon if we're moving across the country or if we're moving across town. But do you have any tips that would work for anyone, no matter
Well,
where they're moving?
there's a lot there that you just mentioned.
My
And I,
questions are very multi-layered. Like, here's
yeah,
47
multi-layered.
ideas.
I love it. It's a great way to put it. Um, I think when you're thinking about a home where you may have raised your kids in and there are a lot of emotional ties,
Hmm.
no one's taking those memories from you. Those memories you get to carry wherever you go.
I love
And
that.
I think to be tactful and respectful, you really do get to take those memories. Um, I think when you're moving with kids, whether it is down the street or it's across the nation,
Hmm.
uh, I have found, well, a couple of things. Some kids think like they're not going to have friends anymore. That like that's, house aside, like they're
Right.
not going to, their friends aren't going to be there. Their stuff is not going to be there, their belongings. And depending on the age of the child, I think some children haven't don't realize that like they get to bring their stuff with
Hmm.
them.
Hmm.
So really, I think managing a move with kids, I think is best when they're prepared early, having those conversations with them, and sometimes putting a positive spin on things um, any way you can. For some kids, making a move is going to be there's a huge exciting factor to it,
Right.
and for others, it's going to be anxiety filled.
Hmm.
Um, and for some,
Somewhere in the
mixed, right?
middle.
Mixed
Yeah.
emotions. Yeah. So ensuring that you're having conversations pretty early on before you even make the move, maybe as you're preparing and planning, just start chatting with them about that and keep dripping on them about that. Try to keep the routines as consistent as possible,
Okay.
especially with the youngers and actually even with the olders. Um, but I think to help reduce some anxiety is like involving them in the process in some way. It might be like, if possible, not always, like going to visit the new home, if
Mm.
possible, maybe looking at it online. Can you envision where your room's going to be? Or draw out, here's the size of your room with window, door. How would you lay this out? Again, depending on the age. Letting them pack like a special box, perhaps. Again, setting up the room, but ensure like you're validating their emotions along the
Hmm.
way because it can be very scary.
Right.
Um, you're going along with them. Again, they might be also thinking about friends, making new friends, leaving old friends. So there's
Yeah.
a lot to it.
Right.
Um,
Especially if they've never done it before and it's all like a new concept to them. If, that's even harder.
Absolutely. And I feel like some of it might seem so obvious to us as adults, like, well, of course we're bringing your stuff.
Right. But they don't know.
Might not, they might think nothing's coming with them, their favorite stuffy, their favorite toy.
Yeah.
Yeah, like reassuring those things are coming with you. Which ones do you want to like leave out? Make sure that you have everyday basis, what toys do you think we could pack up that will like open at a later time? So really making them involved in the best way possible.
And
Um,
having those comfort and familiar items with them to,
yeah,
take along with them.
yeah. And then kind of tying that to some of your questions before about staging for a second with kids. Um, some families actually like move out for a little bit
Yeah.
if possible. And that
Yeah.
doesn't work with everybody when selling a home. Like a couple just recently, they have 3 kids, and they were asked if it was possible to stay with the parents because the parents were about 20 minutes away in the same
Okay.
school district. Again, not always possible, but like, hey, if you can kind of maybe give me 5 days to do like
Right.
here's our marketing strategy, right? We're gonna like do brokers open house this day, open house this day, open house, and
Yeah.
like really talk through that how marketing plan with
And you can
them.
just leave the house and be done with it for a week or
Yeah,
whatever. Like you said, what'd
totally.
you say? Small gains, small pains, big gains. It's like
Yeah,
big
yeah,
pains, small gains. I
exactly.
don't know the other, but right.
And like and sometimes people will plan, all right, hey, we're going on a family trip. We're
Right.
gonna
Let's do it
ask you to
now.
list it like that the day we leave. So we're not there, our pet's at doggy daycare,
Right.
we're at your hair, if full access to the house, because it sounds so like a no-brainer, but like if somebody can't get in your house, you're not going to get an offer, right?
Right.
And so
Right.
by making it as open as possible, and free access as possible, uh, leads to, lesser days on market typically.
And I
So,
guess, go
some
ahead.
people have stayed at like hotels, their parents gone on vacation
Yeah.
to really allow for that.
And I guess too, in this day and age with days on market being shorter, there is a possibility that if you're at the beach for a week or you move to a hotel or, for 7 or 10 days, it could be kind of done and over with. The house could be sold in a couple of days or over a weekend, or you might not get that lucky, but for some people, right, they're like, we moved out for 5 days and the house sold, no big deal, and it's kind of worth it to go through that hassle just to, walk out and not have to clean up every day and wait for the laundry basket of stuff and the phone calls and everything. So that's a great tip.
Absolutely. And if that can't be possible, which I totally get,
Yeah.
being a real live person, like I totally get not everybody can manage that or
Right.
that is possible. Another plan is to ensure like your whole family's out by 9 a.m. Let's say you've got
Mm,
sports or activities, make up an activity, and then maybe come back at 6 and be
interesting.
expressly like communicative with the realtor and say, hey, we're going to do this for a couple of days
Yeah.
and we'll open it up from 9 to 6, but we can't have any showings before or after that time,
Interesting.
but we'll give it all to you.
Yeah, you
Like,
got these 9 hours during the day. Yeah.
yeah, there's so many options. I think as long as like everybody's communicative, I feel like there's ways to bridge some of those challenges and obstacles, both for the realtor and for the homeowner.
And I feel like
And
as a realtor, you would be very, and probably most realtors would be very flexible in that and doing your best to kind of be like, yes, we will use these 9 or 10 hours during the day to fit in everything that we can to, eliminate whatever interruptions there would be.
exactly, you really do try your
I'm
best.
sure that's a lot of balls in the air. You've got juggling a lot
Yeah,
of
yeah,
things.
for everybody
Right, and you're
involved.
doing it for several people at a time, so that's really, really something too. Let me see if I can come up with one more. I feel like a lot as I'm looking at these questions, I'm like, I feel like we sort of already answered them. Okay, here's one. This one will kind of end it. Are there any small changes aside you said like the lighting and stuff, but any small changes that a homeowner can make that would have a big impact on how a house sells? Like let's say it's replacing the rugs or not, or getting the back deck power washed, or like what is something that doesn't feel like a big deal but really makes a big difference when somebody comes to look at the house?
Yeah, that's a great question. I feel like my brain is like firing
I
on
know.
all cylinders
You're like, "Boop,
in
boop, boop, boop,
different
boop, boop,
directions on this.
yeah.
And it in my mind, it really depends on where the property is at to make
Okay.
that recommendation, if that makes sense, and not to
Okay.
be so vague.
Yeah.
But it's like I'm gonna try to meet that homeowner where they are to
Okay.
take it up to par. And everybody's par is kind of different, if that
Okay.
makes sense.
Yeah.
But like,
Or what they're able to do financially or what their, time or whatever it is. Yeah.
absolutely. But I'll say, generally speaking, it's going to be still your cleaning. It's going to be your touch-up painting. It might
Okay.
even be replacing carpets, which you'd be surprised is pretty inexpensive.
Yeah.
And not all, and I'm going to make this disclosure, not all realtors offer this, but I often work with people that I know or the referral from people that I know, which is
Okay.
another endearing person most likely. And one thing that I offer, again, not everybody's going to offer this, is like I'll often, if either money is tight or they're like, you Aisha, you just execute, you go ahead and do your thing. I will pay for things in advance and then have the homeowner pay me back at time of
Oh,
close.
interesting.
We'll just add that as like a line item on the settlement
Okay.
sheet. Like, here's the receipt. Or first, here's the estimate. Does that work for you? Great. Go ahead, Aisha. Like, get it done.
And then they kind of
Um,
give you free will to just kind of get it done.
yes, and I do
That's
like to
helpful.
have like some sort of,
Are
like
we talking
communication.
100,000 or are we talking like 500? Yeah. What are we doing
Right.
here to this house?
Right. And one thing I try to pride myself on is those impactful items, but at a reasonable cost, because I know that you are exiting the home from a
Right.
home selling standpoint. And I'm not saying cutting corners, but focusing on those impactful pieces that, like, a quick change here, like 500 here,
Hmm.
1,000 here. Like, we want to have like a refined budget for doing those impactful changes.
Okay.
Um, and often, like, if you can pare down, then those impactful changes, not leave that up to me, but like, let's tackle it from my handyman person, like the vendors that I have, like, we'll get it done. So there are
I like that.
several layers to this, right? Like dominoes that we need to knock down in order to get to that final stage.
Okay.
Uh, but sometimes those impactful pieces are at no cost, but it's really going to be like a maintenance perspective in my mind.
Okay.
Sometimes we might go and upgrade something and we'll try to make that a very reasonable cost, but
Makes
we also
sense.
have to know in that manner, like, what's our target audience here? What's our target audience, and what is that target audience going to expect for this
Mm.
price point
Mm.
in this area?
Okay.
So there's a lot of things to kind of like juggle and think about.
Or
But
like
I
we're
will
not going to redo the kitchen before we move, but we might because that's silly, but we might bring the cost down a little bit because you could redo the house and the person buying it would be like, I hate this and redo it, and that's kind of like wasted money. So you kind
great, great point. We struggle sometimes on those. Do we execute on that?
of, mhm.
Do we make it really fresh and, kind of pass that renovation baton to the
Right.
buyer? Like, if we do that, let's be mindful of how we're going to position it price wise,
Okay.
right?
So it all
So
kind of plays in.
exactly. I think that's a really good point that you made there. And of course, like, all of this, like, just looking at your outline for a moment, like, all of this is always best. Like, a good rule of thumb is the earlier the better to start
Mm.
preparing and planning about what this might look like and
Yeah.
the time frame, because sometimes there could be a bigger project or a project that I feel, oh, that's so doable in 2 weeks,
Interesting.
might feel extremely overwhelming to the homeowner. And they're like, no, no, Aisha, this is going to be like 4 months for me.
Okay.
I hear you. I got you. We're on your time
Yeah, we can
frame.
work it together. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
See, you brought it right back from the beginning, right back to the end. Start with a plan, and the plan will and help you end in a good way. Look, it's
I
like you've
love
been
it.
doing
Wait.
this for a quarter of a century or something. My goodness. Okay, then anything we missed, or you think we kind of covered it all? Got it
Oh,
all.
I think we covered a
Covered
lot.
it all. I think so too. Look at us. Huh. All right,
Yeah.
then we're going to end with some final questions. And those are kind of fun questions. Not really, well, most of them don't have to do with real estate, though I do have one for you. Dream house. What would be your style of house and your location? What are we doing here?
Okay. We're doing, not everybody's going to agree. This is Ayse
That's you.
Clay.
That's why it's your time.
Yeah, I love it. It's going to be, I love understated. I
Mm.
love expanded Cape, understated.
Ooh,
Let's say it's local, then it might be the rolling hills, the bucolic Willistown
I
Township, something
love
like
it.
that.
Okay.
Some spread out ground. I need nothing grandiose.
Okay.
Um, I need yeah, understated is kind of my mantra.
Understated, but we'd drive by and be like, who lives there? Because it's so classically understated. It's so classy. I
No,
like it.
no, no, actually, you would just drive by. You
Oh,
would
and
just
not
drive
even.
by.
Like, just look at that.
You
That's a
would
nice
just,
house. Okay.
you would just drive by. Yeah, you'd be
Love
like,
it.
oh, that's easy to maintain. You would just drive
Just keep
by.
moving.
Just keep moving. Yeah, I like
Okay.
those houses.
I like it. I like it with a little land around it, it sounds like. A little bit
Oh,
of
more
land.
elbow room. How about
Okay.
you?
I like stone. Stone, like
Oh,
colonially. I know everybody, because I am a self-proclaimed house hunters lover, and everybody's like, I've always wanted a modern farmhouse. I'm like, since when? Since 2023 when they started building modern farmhouses. But I like that very like homey kind of probably a colonial, but like a big kitchen and a big fireplace. And I don't need a ton of land, a little bit. But I think I like more of a neighborhood, but just I've always liked like a house that same with you. Like it's just, oh, they grew up like, oh, her kids grew up in a really nice house. It doesn't have to be like, ginormous, but just I think I'd have to go stone though, and some pretty shutters. Yeah, like a sage green shutter or blue
ooh,
shutter. Yeah.
love that. I'm thinking window boxes with the shutter.
Yes, stop. Maybe a fence. Yeah, like, yeah. Okay, great. So there you go. We'll just live side by side, a couple acres away from each other, and people will just drive by. And then when we invite them over, they'll be like, oh my gosh, their houses are beautiful. All right. If you had the opportunity to know the future, yes or no, would you want to know? That's a big one. I've never asked
It
this one
sure
before.
is.
Uh-huh.
Part of me says absolutely yes, hands down, need to know. But then other side of me says like I love adventure and I love like I said this to myself the other day. I love discovery,
Hmm.
whatever that might mean. I love discovering things on my own. So
Okay.
I'm going to go knowing I said that to myself because I'm learning, right? I'm being more self-aware.
Yes.
I don't want to know because I want to discover on my own at my time frame.
Love
Yes.
it. Okay.
Don't want to know.
Don't
How
want to
about you?
know. Okay, you heard it here. Do you prefer cooking dinner or going out?
Having my husband cook dinner.
There you go. Best of both worlds. Okay, what are you doing while he's cooking?
I'm typically working.
Oh,
in,
I thought you were maybe reading a book or like, I don't know.
in my perfect world, I would be like
In
out
your
back,
perfect world, yes. Okay.
yeah, sitting on the patio, enjoying like the sunset.
Yes.
But some,
But in real
recently,
life, you're
yeah,
typing
yeah,
up an offer.
yeah.
Okay.
Well, yeah.
And does he work with you now too? Are you a two clay team?
Um, yes and no.
Okay.
Brian has had his license for a while. He moved from the financial world, starting a brand new career doing commercial real estate. So
Okay.
come very unrelated. I mean, very related to
Very
what I'm
unrelated. Right.
extremely different. That's a whole nother kind of
So you're
hat.
not,
And
he's not like on your team or anything. So you like do the same thing, but not, but not really at all. Real
we both
estate.
have a real estate license, but
That's
very
about it.
different chapters of
Got it.
it.
Okay. What do you wish you did more of? Mm,
Like having our family over more
I
often than
love
not.
that. That's a
Yeah.
good one.
Like our
Looking.
moms and our siblings. More so.
Okay. There's just never enough time, is there? There's just
Yeah.
never, time is never a thing. That's a nice one. What's something that makes you really angry? Probably
When
nothing. You're
things
always like
don't go my
smiling and
way,
so nice. And so
when
what?
things don't go my way. No, I am a type of person like and that grace word that I was saying, give yourself grace. I
Yeah.
need to really like self-reflect on that.
Okay.
And again, I'm learning as I'm maturing to
Right.
to give myself that. So, when I envision how things are going to go, because I really like let things marinate and they don't go the way that I had planned, it can be very
Hmm.
disappointing.
Okay.
And so yeah, so not things not going the way that I've planned, but I'm also trying to like simmer down on that.
Okay. So not like stomp your feet kind of way. You're more just disappointed and it makes you mad because it's
Oh
not the
no,
way
I
you
might stop
pictured it.
my feet. I might stop my feet and look
I
at
didn't get what I wanted. Okay, I like that. You can stomp your feet too.
and then I'll have like a whole pity party, and then I'll
And you can
move.
move on. Okay, so we'll all take a moment
Yeah,
and then move on. Okay,
that's right.
okay.
That's
We'll
right.
package it up because you have it in your head as being such a wonderful thing, and it just didn't work out. What makes you nervous other than being on
Ooh,
a podcast? No, I'm just kidding.
uh, you've made this just extremely gentle and
Thank you. Of
warm and inviting. So I really appreciate that and such a
course.
conversation. But I would say probably speaking in front of crowds would be quite nerve-wracking, I think.
Yeah, you and
Yeah.
the rest of the world, right? Isn't that like the
Yeah.
number one fear? Let me say a couple other ones. What movie could you watch every day?
Oh my gosh. Probably won't think very highly of me. Um, I I grew up working in just a video store. We
Okay.
called it the movie store, but a video store. So
Okay.
it's really aging me if I haven't already done that. And so we got to see so many movies
Yeah.
um, growing up. But one that sticks with me that, I need laughing because I'm quite a serious person. Although I try to keep things light, but I can be very, very serious.
Okay.
And so in order to keep things light, but like I love Tommy Boy.
Oh, that okay. That'll keep it light for you.
Oh my gosh, with Chris Farley and just a lot of those one-liners, which is not typically my personality because I
Yeah,
love foreign films and all the things, but like that's
just
just
that
one
one.
that's from old school. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I think mine in that genre would be Dumb and Dumber. Like it's just so dumb, but it just like seventh grade me just loved it so much that even now I'm like, it's just so dumb it's funny. Like it's not my typical, but I'm like,
Totally.
it's still funny. Yeah. Same
Totally.
idea. We
Yeah.
all need a moment to just kind of let our brains rot a little, right?
Yeah, exactly. And have some laughs and be
Yeah.
jovial and whatever, be
Right.
light.
Get rid of your cares for the day. Same along that same line, what's your favorite TV show?
I don't really watch much TV, so
Okay.
I don't have a response.
You would
I
just
did
put Tommy
see,
Boy in.
yeah, right. I did see the series recently. Is it White Lotus?
Sounds familiar. I don't get to watch a lot of adult TV in my house, so
Oh,
I'm like,
okay.
I don't know.
That
Bluey,
series was
Bluey's
very
good.
intriguing. Yeah.
I think it is White Lotus. Was it good?
Yeah, I thought it
Okay.
was very good.
I'll have to look
Very
into it.
like human centered and like their reactions and it really focused on the person and it was very interesting.
Nice. All right. What channel is that on?
Don't know. I
No
don't watch a
idea.
lot of stuff.
Sounds
No,
good. Usually if
nothing.
I watch TV, it's after my kids go to bed and I like fall asleep and then we have to like start it all over again. I'm like, I've been watching this
What's the
episode for
point?
6 weeks.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Got to move on.
That's why I just watch House Hunters because if I fall asleep, it's okay. I kind of know how it's going to end. Last question. I hope you have an answer to this. This is fun. What is your claim to fame? Do you have one? Nothing, nothing that you're known for, either famously or infamously.
I hope not. At one point, I mean, this is kind of silly,
That's
but
okay.
and locally, like people, if they see this from outside the area, but at one point, Brian and I, my husband and I, we owned a Rita's water ice,
No
and
way. That's so
yes,
fun. You're saying it's silly. Where was your water ice? Where was
it
your
was right
Rita's?
in Paoli.
Wait, that was yours?
Yeah, we owned it for 6 years, and then when Charlie was born, we even have a cute picture of him sweeping the back
No.
floor,
Wait, the
and then
one where it is now or the one that was in the little hut?
yeah, the one where it is now.
Okay.
And that was kind of fun
That's so
and
funny.
light and we both were working like other places at the time. But Charlie, now that he's getting older, he was like, that. It's so fun
And you're like,
owning that, you
yeah,
know?
well, sorry, buddy. You can still go get
Yeah,
a
yeah,
job there.
yeah, yeah. And we're encouraging him to get a job there when he gets old enough. So
That's really cool. That must have been very time consuming, though. I mean, because you were
Brian,
doing real estate then.
I was doing
Right.
real estate. Brian had left the financial world and then back to the financial world. We had Charlie at the same time, and we're
You had a
like,
lot going on.
something's got to give. we
Yeah.
can't give our child back.
Right.
And
We gotta keep
so
him.
that was on the chopping block, Rita's. So
Okay.
yeah,
Fun fact, when I was in high school, I worked at the Rita's that was across Route 30 in the little hut.
I heard about that one. Never saw it, but I heard of that. And then
Yes.
World Peace went there, I believe.
I think, oh gosh, yeah, wow, you're really taking it back. Yeah, now it was the lobster roll place and now it's the
Oh yeah, yeah,
roast beef or
exactly.
whatever it's called. That
Yeah.
was the only another fun fact, kind of a little pride, a little hit to the pride. It's the only job I've ever been fired from. But in my defense, we'll have to talk offline about this sometime. In my defense, I got the job at the end of senior year. I was very busy running the prom and running like the, like the Miss America for boys show that we had at my high school and, like wrapping up senior year and doing all this stuff. And I showed up every time I was scheduled to work. I pride myself on being reliable. But the owner at the time, who was clearly not you, would call with like 20 minutes notice and be like, "Hey, I need you to come and work tonight." And I'd be like, "Well, I'm not scheduled and I have this meeting or I have this or whatever." And that happened a couple of times, but I was always the first person that he sent home when it was raining and whatever. Okay. So I went into work one time, probably 6 weeks or 2 months after I worked there, and my name wasn't on the calendar. And I went in and I was like, my name's not on the calendar. And he's like, yeah, you're not really that reliable of an employee. And I was like, oh. And I was like, what? And I was like, if there's one thing that I am, it's reliable. And he was like, well, when I call you sometimes and I need you to come to work and you can't. And I'm like, because I have other obligations and
Life.
you give me like five, it's not brain surgery, it's water ice. Like you give me 5 minutes of notice. And I was like, yeah. He's like, yeah, you're not very reliable. And I was like, so, little therapy session for me. So that
Yeah.
was, yeah. So,
Isn't it
anyway.
funny the things that we remember and we're like, oh, at least you had like as a child. For me, I'd be like, I'm so sorry. I missed that. But like
Oh, I'm sure
you
I
have
still was because I'm a rule
uh,
follower. But like in my mind,
yeah,
when I went home, I was like, oh, but I think when he said it, I was like, oh, okay, sorry. And I went like hot and cold and left. But I remember I went home and my mom was talking on the phone to her best friend. And I was like, I just got fired from Rita's. And she was like, why? And I said, he said I'm unreliable. And she said to her friend, the guy said Kristin's unreliable. And her best friend was like, Kristin's the most reliable 17-year-old I know. And I was like, thank you.
I
Thank you.
think you had what we'll call boundaries and you
It's like,
know what I
I
mean?
have a life. The prom needs decorating, and I am the one to do it. So clearly, I had things I needed to do. But anyway, see now, if I had worked for you, I would have been your number one girl.
I love it.
I
I love
love that
it.
you owned that Rita's. All right. Well, oh, tell me last week, and we'll put it in the show notes. Where can we find you? Who's the company that you work for? I think I know what it is, but I don't want to say the wrong one. So you tell
Oh,
us.
okay. Well, thank you for giving me that nod.
Sure.
So, I have my associate's broker's license hanging with Keller Williams Realty,
Okay.
and our office is out of Devon Wayne.
Okay.
I tend to cover having grown up in media and then living on the main line now. I like to say I cover media to the main line
Oh,
and
that's a
surround.
good tagline. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And we will
Um,
link you in the show notes if anybody wants to
oh,
find you and your phone number and whatever. But good thing I
love
didn't
it.
say it because I was going to say a different group. So I'm glad you said it and I didn't.
All good.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Ayse, for sharing your experience and advice with us today. Preparing a home to sell can feel overwhelming, but you have shown us that the right plan and support it can be a much smoother process. If you'd like to connect with Ayse or learn more about her work, I'll be sure to include her contact info and website in the show notes. Listeners, thank you so much for tuning in today. I'm sure many of you found this conversation to be very helpful. If you enjoyed this episode, please like, share, and follow me on Instagram and Facebook at MomsWork Podcast, and listen, follow, and leave a review on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or really anywhere that podcasts are available. Thanks again for listening to Mom's Work.